Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and on this channel we talk about all things video games, and welcome to the Game Awards episode, the magical time of year where people find the most colorful ways to tell me to get my ass back in the kitchen. I swear when I was talking about the awards last year, people found like the most creative ways to tell me that I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to video games, even though I play like 20 plus games every year and I do this for like my job. And that time of the year where everybody just becomes Yapatron 5000 because everybody feels the need to say something about what's happening during the Game Awards, their opinions on the games nominated, what games they think should win, what shouldn't win. And of course, as a gaming content creator, I am guilty of that as well. As you can see in the length of this video, I do quite talk about the Game Awards a lot every single year. Actually, this is my third year talking pretty in depth about the Game Awards. I think it just became a natural thing for me to just talk about as a variety gaming content creator. So the format of this video is actually a little bit different. I'm going to transition over to me reacting to the nomination announcements, and then I'm going to talk in depth about the nominations themselves, how I feel about them, my personal thoughts on the games nominated, and then we'll reconvene here after I talk through all of that. So let's get on with the video.
And now it's the big one. GOTY.
Okay, here we go.
Our global TGA jury has selected the following 6
Oh my god, I'm nervous.
nominees.
Why am I nervous?
For Game of the Year. Player Obscure, Expedition 33,
Of course.
Sandfall Interactive, Death Stranding 2, On the
Okay.
Beach from Kojima Productions, Donkey Kong Bonanza from Nintendo.
I'm 3 for 3 now.
Hades 2 from Supergiant
4 for
Games,
4.
Hollow Knight
5 for
Silksong
5.
from Team Cherry, and Kingdom Come
Oh,
Deliverance
wow.
2 from Warhorse Studios.
Oh, they actually got a nomination.
For Game of the Year. And now that those are official, you can anticipate Lauren Bell from the Game Awards Orchestra.
So that means
playing
that
their
Split
themes as part of
Fiction
our
did
musical
not
series, The
get
Nominees,
a
live on
nomination,
December 11th.
which I
But
think
before
is
that, we need
actually
your help to decide which
appropriate
nominees
here. I
become the
think it's
winners.
right.
Make sure to head to thegameawards.com to
I-
cast your ballot.
I felt
And do
weak
this year,
about
download your
Split
vote
Fiction
cards
getting a
so you can
lock
share your picks
or
on
a
social
nomination.
media.
So I'm
There is
actually
still
really
one
happy
more
for
category
Kingdom
where
Come
the nominees
Deliverance
have yet to be
to get that
revealed.
slot.
Players' votes,
Wow.
where fans 100%
Wow.
select the winner from 30 nominees. We'll announce those nominees on Monday, December 1st.
And Ghost of
Set a reminder
Yote
on the
did not
website
get a
for the
nomination
alert.
as I
The
predicted.
winners in all categories
It was
will be
just too,
revealed live during
there was not
TGA,
enough
when
space for
streams
it.
globally
There really
on
wasn't.
Thursday, December
It was a
11th.
bloodbath.
Starting with
So it's been a few days since the nominations were first announced. I tried to go on this website right after the nomination stream, but it kept crashing, I think because everybody was trying to look it up. So now I am finally ready to vote and go through the nominations myself and just go through my thoughts on the nominations as well. I have my tea ready, so now I'm really ready to get into this. Let's do it. So let's just start with the big one, Game of the Year. Okay. So, for people who follow my short form content, I did talk about what I predicted would be nominated for Game of the Year, and I got 5 out of 6 nominations correct. So I said in my predictions that Expedition 33, Hades 2, and Silksong would definitely be making it in, and I pretty much had no doubt about these making it. And then I also predicted that Donkey Kong Bonanza would make it in, and it did. And I did think that Split Fiction was going to make its way here, but it did not. And my final pick was Death Stranding 2. So all in all, I guess that 5 out of the 6 games here would make it. And I felt like this year it was pretty predictable compared to the previous years. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit more tapped into just following games this year a little bit closely. The reason why I thought Split Fiction would make it is because it got a lot of great reviews. So objectively on like Metacritic, the review scores were very high. And I felt like Split Fiction was just one of those like critically acclaimed games throughout like the entire year. I felt like people were constantly talking about how it was going to be nominated for multiple awards at the end of the year. So even though I thought that Split Fiction would make it, on a personal level, I'm actually glad that Split Fiction was not nominated because I played the game and I thought it was fun. I'm like 90% of the way done with the game. Me and my partner are just taking forever to beat it because we're just horrible at getting through games together. So we've been playing it for like the past like 5 months. We're nearly at the last level. Even though like the gameplay is like really fun and it's really like a great time and experience, I just feel like, is it on the caliber of the other games here? I don't think so. I think the story is really average. again, the gameplay is where it shines. I just think that it's not on par with the games here. So I'm personally fine with the fact that Split Fiction didn't make it. Now, I did think that the last slot would be between Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Ghost of Yotei, or Death Stranding 2. And I ultimately said that Death Stranding 2 would be the one to make it because I was comparing a bunch of different factors. First, I said that if we were to take critic scores, which the Game Awards have historically had a strong correlation to like Metacritic and critic scores. Above all, I think Death Stranding 2 ranks the highest, so that was one factor. I also thought that because Jeff Keighley is the one running the show, obviously, there would be a bias towards Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei. And as Jeff was reading out the nominations, I really thought that last slot was going to go to Ghost of Yotei because just simply because of how many nominations it got up to that point. I think it was like the second most nominated game this year behind Expedition 33. So I was really anticipating Ghost of Yotei to be read out. That's why I was really surprised that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was the one that took that last slot. On that graphic where it shows like most nominated games, I don't think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 even made that list, which is why I was pretty surprised. Although after I posted my predictions video on my short form platforms, I saw an overwhelming amount of support and community sentiment for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 above Ghost of Yotei. I didn't play the game, so I don't know much about it, but I was like, wow, people really, really love this game and think it's just as good enough as these other games to win Game of the Year. So I was like, okay, critically, I think it makes sense that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 makes it here. But I just think that because of these other factors of like, you know, who is running the show, the amount of nominations the other games got, I didn't think it would make it. Regardless, I am happy for them that they ended up taking that last slot. So if I were to go through every game on this list, starting with Expedition 33. It's like beating a dead horse talking about this game, but this is definitely my personal game of the year. I really thought this game was special ever since it was revealed last year. I was immediately hooked by the fact that it was a turn-based game, but it had like Western visuals, and I really thought it was going to be a special game when it came out. So I'm really happy that when I played it, it was in fact an extraordinary game. Amazing music, amazing cast. I will say, in terms of the story, I thought the story was good, but I think around like Act 3 is when I didn't feel as strongly about the story compared to Act 1 and 2. And I will say overall, even though I love the heck out of Expedition 33, I will say I don't feel as strongly about it being my personal game of the year compared to the previous 2 years. So last year, I was like very sure and confident Astrobot was my game of the year. And this is me just saying like, this is my game of the year. Like, I'm not even necessarily saying like, this is the game that should win game of the year. I'm just talking about my personal pick. So last year, I felt like I was very confident that Astrobot was my game of the year. I love this so much. I thought it was a masterpiece. I had so much fun with it, and I was like, this game is fucking awesome. It's an S tier game to me. And I felt the same way about 2023 as well. Like Baldur's Gate 3, definitive personal game of the year. I had no doubts about that. I felt very strongly that this was one of the best games that I've ever played in my life. So I gave Baldur's Gate 3 and Astrobot a personal ranking of S tier, and I don't do that very often. And I would say that I did not give Expedition 33 an S tier. I gave it an A+. I think it mostly has to do with the story fall off a little bit towards the end. So all in all, I'm not as confident about it as I have been with my personal GOTYs compared to the last couple years, but I still think it's my personal game of the year, and I think it will in fact win game of the year this year. You know what's really interesting about Expedition 33 that I've been seeing? It's funny that people think that like popularity and hype is a big factor in determining who wins. Like I saw a lot of comments saying like, I've never heard of Expedition 33. I don't know a single friend who played this game. And to that I say, first of all, I feel like you have to be living under a rock if you have never heard of this game. Like it sold 5 million copies. I think at that point you kind of just have to admit that you're not as tapped into video games as you think you are. But when people say like, bro, I've never even heard of this game, like I've never seen people talk about this game, it's interesting that people think that that matters for picking the winner of these awards, because Astrobot winning last year should be the ultimate testament that hype and popularity isn't as big of a factor as you might think. I think Astrobot was significantly less popular than Wukong or even Metaphor ReFantazio. Like, of course, these games that were nominated have to be popular enough to be recognized by the games in the first place and nominated, so it does play in that factor. But in terms of like winning the category, I think the factor that matters is whether the game was good or not and which game was the best out of these nominations. And I think people overestimate how much like hype and popularity play into that. Like, why would that factor play into determining which game is the best of the bunch? The awards are supposed to award the quality of the product, not necessarily what the majority of people love. I think Golden Joystick Awards is more appropriate for that because I'm pretty sure that award show is like 100% community voted, so it would make sense there that the most popular games and the most hyped games are winners. But the past Game Awards, I think, have given us enough evidence to show that hype and popularity don't play as big of a factor as people might think. I think it's overestimated. Moving on to Death Stranding 2, I did not play this game. I really wish I had the time to, because it looked funny. Like, there were a lot of moments from the game that I saw clipped out and I was like, what is going on here? I've seen a lot of people talk highly about this game, so I'm not surprised that it's here. But I do want to properly play the first Death Stranding game before I play Death Stranding 2. Do I think it has a shot at winning though? Not really. I mean, I can say that about pretty much every game here. I don't know if they have a shot at winning. Besides Expedition 33. Moving on to Donkey Kong Bonanza. I played this game, I didn't finish it, and I kind of regret buying it. That is to say, I don't think the game is bad. I think it all comes down to personal preference. I totally understand that it is a good game. It just wasn't for me. I feel like I should have expected me to not like this game though, because I think the gameplay kind of builds off of Mario Odyssey, and I didn't really love the format of that game, of like the whole collectathon kind of gameplay, and knowing that, I feel like I should have known that Donkey Kong Bonanza is just like that, but a little bit different and improved. So I feel like this game just really wasn't for me. I think that I understand why it's here, but again, definitely not my personal pick. Hades 2 is another game that I wish I played, but I did not. I still have to play Hades 1, similar to Death Stranding. I do want to play the first one before I get to the second one. I just know that this was really, really highly critically acclaimed, and I, again, am not surprised that it's here. Hollow Knight Silksong. I did play Silksong. I have about like 50 or so hours on it, and I love Silksong so much. I had so much fun with it. Of course, I understand why it's here. I think it could have easily won Indie Game of the Year if Expedition 33 wasn't here. I'm gonna be saying that for a lot of these categories, I feel. But yeah, awesome game, and I really loved it. And then I said my piece about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. But to add on though, it's a little tough for me to talk about a game that I haven't played myself, but just going off mostly like vibes. I think it's cool that a game that people seem to be saying is like, they thought it was too niche to make it compared to these more like mainstream titles. I think it's cool that it made it. When the Game Awards do kind of give that chance over to like the game that seems like it deserves it more over like the mainstream popular game, I feel like the Game Awards do gain a little bit more of my respect in that way. I felt this way about Astrobot winning last year. I was like, wow, they could have easily given it to the less popular game, but I genuinely thought that that was such a good game, so I felt like they gained a little bit more of my respect when they weren't afraid to give the Game of the Year to Astrobot. So in the similar vein, I think it's cool that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 made it, and based on just like everybody talking about it, it seems that they really deserve this spot. Overall, I think that every game here deserves to be here, even though I haven't played every single game. Thinking about all the reviews that I saw, all the community sentiment, all the chatter, how people feel about each game. And needless to say, this was an extremely competitive year to be nominated for Game of the Year. At the same time though, the competition for winning the actual Game of the Year award seems to be less competitive because we all feel that Expedition 33 is just going to take it. Now, I want to address the nominations that didn't make it that people, I think, were discussing, starting with Arc Raiders. I feel like this is a pretty simple answer. One, it was just too competitive. I feel like it was predictable that Arc Raiders didn't make it because it's a multiplayer title and there's just not a heavy emphasis on multiplayer titles for the Game of the Year category. And then the other game that people really wanted nominated was Dispatch. I'm going to say something that might piss people off. I don't think it was a timing issue that Dispatch wasn't nominated. If the game came out like 3 months ago, I still don't think it would have been nominated. If hypothetically there was like a 7th slot here for another nomination, I think that Ghost of Yotei could have probably taken that slot before Dispatch, and if not Ghost of Yotei, I think Blueprints could have probably taken that last slot before them. I simply think that Dispatch was not good enough to make this list. I'm not even saying that the game was bad. I thought it was good. I liked it and I had a lot of fun with it. And I actually liked the game much more than Blueprints, which I dropped. But I just simply think that it was way too competitive for Dispatch to go up, even against the runner-ups for this category. And to be honest, it's hard for me to believe that people who played even half of the games on this list earnestly believe that Dispatch is on the same level as them. Like, I played half of the games on this list and I just feel like Dispatch is not near the caliber of games that were nominated. I think people are getting really caught up in hype and popularity and recency bias, but I personally thought it was pretty predictable that they wouldn't make it. And I already talked about how I think that hype and popularity don't play as big of a factor as people might think for these awards. I think if people feel strongly about Dispatch though, they should vote for that game for the Player's Choice Award. I think it actually does have a fair shot of winning that because there's just so many people who love that game so much. So anyways, to wrap this category up, I'm going to place my vote for Expedition 33. Best Game Direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. This category is also really competitive. Best Narrative, for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. For this one, I only played Expedition 33 and Silent Hill F on this list, so I would be happy with either one. I do have like a bias towards the whole like concept of Silent Hill. I just think it's like really dope. And although like the symbolism in Silent Hill F is actually really cool, so I think I'm gonna go with Silent Hill F. Best Art Direction, Expedition 33. Best Score and Music. I would love to know what the other soundtracks sound like, but out of Silk Song and Expedition 33, gonna go with Expedition 33. Best Audio Design, Silent Hill F. Best Performance. This category is always really hard because I feel like everybody who's nominated here deserves to win, and I just hate the fact that someone has to win and people have to lose for this category. I mean, of course, all the actors in Expedition 33 were awesome. I think Ben Starr will get my vote because I loved him as Verso, and as a personal aside, I was really bummed that he lost for Final Fantasy 16. I loved him as Clive so much. I really think that even though that game itself had its problems, the game was worth playing just for Ben Starr's acting. I thought it was extraordinary, phenomenal, and I was just so sad that even though, of course, I love Astarion and I love Neil Newbon, I was just sad that Ben Starr had to lose for Astarion to win. So I really hope that this year Ben Starr could get his flowers because I think he did a great job with Verso as well. But again, I feel like Erika Ishii, I'm sure she did great with Ghost of Yotei. Konatsu Kato for Silent Hill F, she had an extraordinary performance as well. I feel like it's always really admirable to see people act out in like horror and like act out just really like visceral acting. I did not play the Indiana Jones game, but I also heard that Troy Baker did a great job with that one. So again, it sucks that people have to lose in this category because I feel like they all deserve it, but I'm gonna go with Ben Starr. Innovation and accessibility. This is one of those things that I'm not so sure about, so Doom the Dark Ages because I think I saw people say they really like that game. Games for Impact. Out of these games, I played Despelote, and I talked about this game before. I think it's really cool that it's here because it was developed by 2 developers, and it's a really personal story. It's just about a kid who grows up in Ecuador during the time when the country was competing for a spot in the World Cup, and to just like unapologetically share such a personal story in the form of a video game, I think it's just super dope. I think it's really easy to doubt, like, oh, do people care about my story, even if it's deeply personal? And the fact that Despelote is here, I think, shows that yes, people care about it. So I just think it's really fucking dope that it got nominated. Consume Me was also the other game that I wanted to play. I think this is also like a semi-autobiographical story of the developer. Where the story revolves around like coming of age, struggles with body image and fat phobia and body dysmorphia. And I think it's dope that it got nominated because of the, you know, again, the sharing of a deeply personal story. So my vote is gonna go to Despelote because that is the game that I played and I liked it. Best ongoing. It's kind of sad that I haven't played like any of these games. I mean, of course I played like Fortnite, but I haven't played it in years. I'm going to vote for Fortnite because my homie works there. Best community support. I mean, I'm just gonna vote for my favorite game on the list. Here's the thing with voting for these categories. I think for categories like this, the game that has the best community support should win this award. And that's usually like, I think, how voting works. The panel votes for the game that they believe has the best community support. And it's not necessarily voting for the best game that is on this list. It should be like the criteria that it was nominated for. But for someone like me who hasn't played these games and doesn't know what each community support looks like for each game, I'm just gonna vote for what I think is the best game or my favorite game, and that's obviously Baldur's Gate 3. Best indie game. This category is also really competitive. I don't know much about this game. I saw many people talk about how addicted they are to this game. Blueprints, we already know how much people loved it, the super high review scores it got. Expedition 33, Hades 2, Silksong. I thought there was a low chance that Blueprints could have gotten that last slot for Game of the Year. So I guess it's like pretty expected that it would show up here. The thing with the indie category is that like, it's not very clear anymore what constitutes as indie. Like a lot of people would say that Expedition 33 is AA, even though they technically are an independent studio, but they have like a sizable publisher, I guess. I feel like indie is just a label that's just like vibes based now. Personally, I think that Expedition 33 still counts as an indie game, which is why it doesn't really upset me that it's here compared to some other people. I think a lot of people were actually pretty mad that it's here, and I'm just like kind of whatever about it. I do think though that year that Dave the Diver was nominated for an indie game, I was like, what the fuck? Because that game is owned by Nexon. So I think I feel like it's better that an indie game technically being nominated, even though it could also be considered AA, is better than a game that looks like an indie game but actually isn't, is nominated. So I'm gonna vote Expedition 33. Best debut indie game. Okay, so there was actually Megabonk here, but I saw the latest update that the creator of Megabonk actually requested that it be removed because that indie game is actually not their debut game. They said that they developed under a different name at different studios or something like that, so they very humbly withdrew from this category. But then I'm confused on like what the criteria or requirements is to actually meet this category, because it's the person who made Megabonk that is pretty much similar to Dispatch, is it not? Because I thought that Ad Hoc Studio was like a new studio made by like Ubisoft and Telltale developers, and they made games before. It's just this game is the first game under the new studio. So I don't know. I don't really know what counts to be nominated for this category, but either way, Blueprints, Expedition 33, Despelote, Dispatch. I think it's awesome that Despelote is here, but there's no way they're winning. But I'm like astounded that they even got like noticed enough to be nominated here. I'm really curious to know how they got the attention to be nominated, because not gonna lie, like that is a very like small game with a small team. I know I've been voting for Expedition 33 up until this point because it is just like my favorite game out of the bunch, but I mean, these votes don't really matter that much anyways. For people that don't know, I'm pretty sure it's the same rules as last year. The community vote is only 10% and 90% is voted by the panel. So all in all, these votes don't matter that much. So I'm going to just not vote for Expedition 33 and go for Dispatch. Best mobile game. I wanted to play this game, but I completely forgot. I saw like a panel for it at Anime Expo and I was like, oh, I should play this game. But I'm really bad at playing mobile games and like games with just like microtransactions. So I just completely forgot. I mean, I haven't played any of these games, but based on like how many people I saw enjoying Uma Musume, I'll just vote for that. I don't play any VR or AR games. I don't know, I'll just pick the cute cover for Midnight Walk. Best action game? I haven't played any of these games, so I'll vote for Hades 2. Best action adventure game? I think this is an easy Silk Song vote for me. Best RPG. I'm kind of surprised that Avowed made it because I thought that that game got a lot of mixed reviews. I loved the month that everybody was playing Monster Hunter Wilds. That was really fun. I actually saw some people say that there was some snubs for this category. I think people were saying like the Trails game should be here. I mean, I kind of heard good things about all of these games besides Avowed, but I'm gonna vote for Expedition 33. Best fighting game. I heard this game was really boring, and it seems that the FGC in general loves 2XKO, so I'm gonna go with 2XKO. Best family game. I didn't love Donkey Kong Bonanza, so I'm not gonna vote for that. I really love Mario Kart World, not gonna lie. I had a lot of fun with it, especially the knockout tours. Split Fiction, again, like I had my fun with it, but overall though, I think I just like Mario Kart World the most. I also really love the music from this game. Best sim strategy. I did not play a single one of these games. I'll vote for Tactics because I know a lot of people loved it. Best sports and racing. Mario Kart World. I don't get why sports and racing are in the same category. I feel like this is so different from the actual sports games. Best multiplayer. I feel like this category is actually pretty competitive, no? Like a lot of people obviously will say Arc Raiders, but like Peak had its moment this year. Not even its moment, like months. And of course people love Split Fiction, so I'll just vote for the game that I played, which is Split Fiction. Best adaptation. I saw a lot of people saying that the Sonic 3 movie was snubbed here, and I fucking agree. I was like, wait, if that movie was eligible for nomination, even though it came out last year towards the end of the year, why the fuck is it not here? And Until Dawn, Booty Cheeks movie is here. I love the Sonic 3 movie so much, dude. Like, it really felt like healing my inner child going to the theaters and watching that movie, because I grew up with Sonic Adventure 2 and the music from it, and just have a lot of good memories with that game. And I was like, damn, they really made a movie out of that game. So sucks that it's not here. I guess I'll give it to, I don't know. I didn't watch any of this. The Last of Us. Most anticipated game. I feel like it's kind of unfair that Grand Theft Auto 6 is here again, because I think it won last year. Imagine it keeps getting delayed and it just wins every single year. But my pick here is quite obvious. Definitely Resident Evil. Content Creator of the Year. I don't know. I don't watch these people. I'll just give it a moist critical. Best esports game. I'm glad they included this description, because I was like, is this like the best esports game like as a player, or like best esport to deliver an esports experience? I guess I'll just give it a League, because I kind of cared about Worlds this year. Not that I watched any of it. Best esports athlete. I think it's cool that Kakeru and Mena RD are here, because I really like watching them at EVO, but we gotta give it to Mena RD. Best esports team. Wait, I'm like confused. Okay, I don't really watch esports anymore, so that's why I'm confused that Gen G is here and T1 isn't here. Not knowing anything about these games, I'll just give it to Gen G, or team, sorry. And then the last thing is the player's voice. Sorry, I said choice before. And you get to vote in 3 consecutive rounds, and I will do my voting when those open. They made it so you can like download your vote card now. So this is my vote card. I don't know if it really matters, because like some of these I just picked whatever, and some of these I felt good about. And this is exactly why I'm glad the panel makes up most of the voting, because even if the panel, like we say it's rigged or whatever, and like they're biased, the community is even more guilty of that. Welcome back. I know that was a lot of talking so far, but I do want to say a few things before ending this video about the Game Awards themselves. So I kind of see the Game Awards as just like other industry award shows in other media, like the Grammys or the Oscars. I think it's good conceptually that they exist because, you know, it's right to reward developers and artists for their creativity, their art, the technological advancements, and to recognize those in the industry who deserve it. But like other award shows, I think TGA has plenty of criticisms that it warrants, like the nebulous criteria for what gets nominated, the unknown threshold for that, the legitimacy of the panel, the fact that the show itself is run by pretty much one guy who obviously has his friends that he shows a little favoritism towards. I'm looking at you, Kojima. And the show itself is like overrun with ads and not the greatest viewing experience besides the world premieres. However, unlike other industry award shows, I think what sets TGA a little bit differently is the fact that we kind of talk about Game of the Year and Game Awards year round. Maybe it's because I'm more tapped into gaming than like music or movies, but even amongst my friends, I feel like I don't really hear people say when Ariana Grande drops like a pop album, I don't think the first thing I really hear is like, yeah, this album is going to win pop album of the year at the Grammys, or it's going to win album of the year. Same thing with movies. I feel like if Christopher Nolan drops like an amazing movie, I don't know if people are super focused on like, oh yeah, this is going to win movie of the year at the Oscars for sure. Again, maybe people talk like this if they're really tapped into movies and music, but with games, I feel like the award shows and GOTY is like very relevant at multiple points throughout the year. I remember within like the first 2 months of Expedition 33 being out back in like March or something, people were already saying things like, man, it's so early in the year, but we might already have our game of the year. So comparatively to other award shows, why do we care so much about like GOTY and TGA in general? Maybe it has to do with the competitive nature of gamers. Like inherently, as people who play video games, we are just competitive people. I think it has to do with validation, of course. I think people like to see the awards as evidence or proof that they have good taste in games and validate their knowledge on what makes a game good. And I think it's very human nature to want the things that you love or are passionate about to get recognition and get rewarded for the work. And the gaming community and industry obviously have very, very passionate fandoms. And these are all fair reasons that I'm guilty of as well, of course. But I think what I want to focus on is the fact that maybe because GOTY and TGA is relevant year round, it's kind of changed the way we talk about games with each other. Like if TGA didn't exist, would turn-based games like Expedition 33 or Baldur's Gate 3 have nearly as many haters for winning or getting nominated over other genres and games? I don't have to go into why TGA is so exhausting and toxic. I think we have multiple reasons that are quite obvious for that, but it boils down to the whole concept of GOTY being weaponized to bring other games down and subsequently other people's opinions, because when their faves don't win, it feels like a personal attack to them. What was supposed to be like a net positive for the world of recognition and rewarding people who deserve it has turned into this thing that's just exhausting and annoying to deal with. That, yeah, I don't blame people who don't care about the awards anymore and just gloss over them year by year. Personally, I feel like I've only been increasingly more into the awards every year and talking about them is because I'm a gaming content creator and it's relevant to the stuff I make. But without that, I don't know if I would care too much about the awards. Before content, I feel like I didn't care about the awards at all. Ultimately, I think the people who win in this situation are the people that recognize this and can not give too many shits about TGA and can just use the awards to find new games to play. Maybe find the next masterpiece that they've never heard about until now, or support the small studios or developers that were nominated whose lives have changed from creating their game. That's pretty much all I have to say for this video. I'm looking forward to all your guys' comments about the awards. What do you think should win Game of the Year? What do you think was snubbed? What do you think about TGA in general? I can't believe we're near the end of the year now. It feels like it went by so fast. In the next video, I definitely want to talk about the games that I played this year, what I think about 2025 in gaming in general, and I'm excited to just like look back on the year fondly in terms of games. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!